3, 2, 1, go.
Okay, first let's switch from white to a matte cap. So we'll go here, change from lit PBR to matte cap. So let's go to our tools here. Let's use the move tool. I'm going to make the radius a little bit bigger. And let's make this a little wider. So you see I have symmetry on, so we can do both sides at once. I'm going to make it even bigger, and I just want to make this into a bit of a round sphere. So maybe something like that. Let's take a look. Let's go to the left side. Let's take our gizmo, this is our controller, and let's squeeze it. So we'll use this blue sphere here and we'll just squeeze it like this. Okay, I think that's good. So we'll go back to the front. And I'm just gonna quickly save my position here in the front by going to the camera, add view, and we're gonna rename it by tapping that little pencil. We'll just rename it 1. Also, I'm in orthographic and not perspective. I always sculpt in orthographic. Okay, so now let's make some ears here. So let's use a cylinder. So we'll tap here, add, cylinder. Okay, so I'll shrink the screen a little bit so we can see a bit more. I'm gonna move it up and left. And then I'm going to use this orange ring to shrink it. Okay, so let's flip it towards us. So see this red ring? We want to move it in 90-degree increments. So we'll go to snap. It's already on 90. So now that that's on 90, we can go ahead and bring this 90 degrees like this. We can go ahead and turn snap off. And just to note, there's 2 snaps. There's the angle one and there's the increments one. So this one is different. So I want it to move it, then it moves in increments. Okay, so now what we need to do is just kind of make it more in the shape of like a cat's ear. So let's turn it to the side and shrink it. And let's actually do a little bit like this as well. So now we just want to position it on the head, kind of where we want. I want to make sure that it's not too far up. Let's make it a little smaller. Okay, I think that looks pretty good. So let's tap these 3 dots. We're just going to make it more round. Just tap these 3 dots. And let's do post subdivision to 2. And cylinder topology, let's go down to 24. And we can hit mirror. And here's where you can move them to be exactly where you want. So I think that looks pretty good. So I'm going to validate and take a look at the back. Let's use the move tool again. We don't need it that big though, because these shapes are a bit smaller. And now let's make these into sort of triangle shapes. So we'll just pull these sides. I'll make it a little bit bigger. The reason why I'm making the move tool bigger or smaller, it just controls how smooth everything is moving. So notice how I'm going to pull the back. So now you're really just manipulating and shaping until you get the ears how you want them. And then you can actually take your gizmo and then you can continue to use the gizmo if that helps as well. So let's kind of position where we want the eyes to be. So we'll have the eyes maybe around here. So let's add a sphere. So we'll tap here, add sphere. And if you notice that we kind of added the sphere into this mirror by accident. So just long press the sphere and you can bring it out. Let's take this mirror, just tap on the mirror, tap the 3 dots, and then let's just name it ears. And this will be eyes. We'll name this, and then once we add the mirror, we're going to have to probably rename it. So let's go ahead and tap mirror down here. Let's rename this mirror eyes. Now tap on the eye itself. We can validate. So essentially we have our eyes here, but they're in the same spot. If you notice, that purple is all weird looking. So we'll just slide it over and shrink. And now you can just position it where you want your eyes to go. I think I like this. Kind of want them to be a little bigger. And also you can also adjust, any of the other parts that you want as well. You don't have to, you don't have to worry about the sizes of things right now, since we're just kind of blocking everything. You can be as creative as you want. You can make things different sizes, things like that. Okay, so let's make the little area for the mouth. Let's use the mask tool. We have symmetry on. So the mask tool, we're just going to draw out where we want the mouth to be. Let's see. So cats usually have little round pieces here. So the way we can kind of pretend that that's there, I'm going to make this smaller. It's just kind of go like this. Okay, so we'll go up around here. And maybe we'll do something like that. And if you need to change something or erase something, you can just hit unmask. Okay, so now that we have the mouth masked, what we can do is kind of adjust the area around the mask. So let's take inflate. I'm going to raise my radius up a little bit. And we want to just add maybe this little nose area here. So if we go like this, it's going to add the area, but it's going to preserve what we have masked. Okay, so we'll just kind of go off like that. Okay, you can take a look from the side, see how much depth we have. I think that looks pretty good. Okay, so while we're also doing this, we can take clay and we can go where the eyes are, and we can actually, if you hit sub, you can actually make an area for the eyes using clay. So I'm just going around in a circle right where the eyes are, kind of giving them a nice socket. Okay, something like that. So now let's go back to mask and let's invert it. So we hit invert, and now the only part of the head that's not masked is the mouth. So we can take our gizmo, and that's the only part that should move. Now remember, we kind of thinned it out, so we want to make sure it doesn't come out this side. Okay, so now that we have it moved back, we can shrink. You can move it up or down. Maybe up is the better position, so we can see that tongue. The inside sort of has a little bit of a mound, so I just like to flatten it out like that. We want to smooth out all of this because obviously right now it looks crazy, but you don't want to just smooth because it's going to be too soft, and it's going to do this, and it's going to change too much. So let's take this and voxel remesh it. So let's go here, voxel, and then let's remesh this at, let's just do 200. And I might use a shortcut, which is down here, but it's the same thing. Whoops. If I go like this, you see it's the same number. Okay, and let's remesh. Multi-resolution will be lost. Okay. All right, so now we can use our smooth tool. We have symmetry on, and we can just smooth this out. You notice that these, they don't really look as good. So what I might do is just voxel remesh it again. I might bring this down to like 160, remesh it, and smooth. Maybe smooth that out, smooth out the mouth a little bit more. You know, there's no reason why you can't remesh and then remesh again and then remesh again if you need to. So if you're really having issues, you can voxel remesh it even lower, but it looks like 160 is pretty good. So once it's nice and smooth, don't forget to save your progress. Every 5 to 10 minutes, save your progress. Okay, so now let's do the same thing with the ears. So we're still working with our one ear that's inside a mirror that's giving us 2. So let's take this cylinder, which is the ear. I'm just going to rename it ear so it's less confusing. And let's voxel remesh it. So remember, you can go here, voxel and remesh. Maybe we'll just do around 150. I'm going to use my little shortcut. And we'll hit remesh. And we can smooth this out a bit. Okay, I'm going to smooth out the sides. Looks like it might need another remesh. So I'm going to bring it down to 140. Remesh. And smooth it out nice and smooth. Okay, so let's make a copy of these ears. So let's just take this whole ear thing. So we'll tap the mirror and the ear and hit clone. So this is going to be the ear inner. So I'm going to tap these three dots, name, and we'll just call this inner. So what I want to do with the inner is actually just use the gizmo, and I just want to move it out and then shrink. Just kind of line it up. So now we have a nice inner ear as well. Let's save. Okay, so let's take the eyes and we're going to just clone them and then make the pupils. So we'll take the eyes. I'm just going to take the whole eye area, clone, and I'm going to change this to P1 for pupils, and we'll change this to P1. Okay, so now we're going to shrink and move it forward. You can shrink it a bit more until we get something like that. And we can adjust them a little bit more later. Do a quick save. And before we do the teeth, I want to make like a jaw, not a jaw, but like kind of gum area. So I'm going to do a little shortcut. We'll take the mask and let's change this to head and let's clone it. And this is going to be gums. So now we're just going to use the gizmo and let's just shrink it a bit. That looks almost perfect. Maybe we'll squeeze it a little bit. Okay, I'm just going to smooth it a little bit. So let's just hit X-ray, trim, and we'll use this little rectangle. And that just makes it easier to draw a rectangle, and you can trim around the actual mouth because we don't need any of this extra stuff. Trim a little bit here as well. So for teeth, we're just going to do, let's add a box and let's name it teeth. And I want to shrink it, so we'll just use our gizmo and shrink it like this. We'll move it down. We'll shrink it a bit more. And then let's move it over a little bit. And let's hit mirror. Oh, let's move it up. Okay, we'll squeeze it this way. And now what we want to do is round off these teeth. So we'll tap here, post subdivision to 2, and then we'll bring the division X down pretty low, maybe to 4. I think that looks pretty good. And we can actually bring the post subdivision up again, just so it has a little bit more topology. Okay, so now we can just hit validate, and let's smooth them out. Okay, and we want to make it a little more toothy, give it a little more personality, so I'm just going to use move and just kind of give them a little bit more of a round tooth. We can voxel remesh it, maybe around 110 or 113 or so. And I'm just voxel remeshing it low to make it a little softer. I like the shape, but I just want it a little softer. Maybe even a little lower than that. And I always like the teeth to kind of go with the flow of the face, so I'm just using this little ring to rotate it. We'll bring them a little closer together. So we'll add a sphere, and I'm okay if it's actually in the tooth mirror. So I'm just going to name this tooth. And now we have the new sphere, which we can go ahead and just place in the area that we want, and you can make this whatever kind of tooth you want. So I think I'm going to squeeze mine like that. And I'm going to validate these spheres, and then I'll use drag. And before I do that, since I have this tooth in position, I'm going to clone it and hide the clone. So now I'll go back to the sphere, and I'm just going to use drag and just sort of shape this tooth to be a little sharper. I'll make this a little bigger. Okay, I think I like that. Okay, so now we can take the tooth that we saved before and we can make, I think I want to make a bigger, cool looking tooth. So we'll take this sphere and we'll just move it over. Let's make it a bit bigger. Maybe I'll thicken it up a little bit. And I just want to take move. And we'll just need to shape it. Okay, let's move it back in there a little bit. That's pretty cool. So now just feel free to kind of shape it up. You can make it as wide or as sharp as you like. You can also use things like the flatten tool. And then just smooth it out. So now let's give them some teeth here, and I really like the look of these. So let's go to our scene menu and let's duplicate these. So we'll clone, and then we can go to symmetry here. Let's do local, and let's just hit Y. We flipped it on the Y axis, which means we just took this tooth, we flipped it upside down, and now we're just moving it. And now we can do the same things with these teeth, or if you want, you can just add a new sphere, shrink it. You can add some other teeth down here. And then we can clone, and you can, maybe we'll add something like this. Some variation, but you can adjust the size of the teeth as you'd like. Okay, we can go ahead and validate these. And don't forget, you can use tools like flatten if you want to give it a little something something. Let's save. So once you're happy with the teeth, how you like them, you can go into your scene and you can always join the teeth, and you just have your teeth here. So since I want to bring this to other software, I want to get the size of the teeth down because it's a little high. So I'm going to go to each of these teeth and go to quad remesher, and I'll just turn symmetry off, and I'm just going to do half. And then I'll just go here. I like the teeth. I'll go ahead and validate and just rename it. Okay, so let's make the little nose. So we'll just use a cylinder. Change this to nose. We'll take it out, shrink. Let's do snap again, 90 degrees, and we'll just snap it forward. We'll shrink it a little bit. Let's bring it down to position. So maybe right around there. Flatten it like this. Now let's make this a bit more round. So we'll tap these three dots, post subdivision to 2, and we'll bring this down. We'll bring it down to 12, and let's put the post subdivision up to 3. Validate. So let's use trim, and let's just make more of a kind of cat nose. So we use trim. We have symmetry on. And let's just use the lasso and just watch this shape that I do. It's almost like a mushroom. Notice how I only did one side, and that's because we have mirror on. So let's try smoothing it without remeshing it. Okay, it's not bad. I'm going to undo. I'm going to remesh it maybe to like 110, and then I'll smooth it out. And the only reason I'm remeshing it at 110, it's going to still be soft, but I just want it to hold a little more of the shape. I want to take move now, and I want to move it out. So first we can just try the gizmo. Let's see what that looks like. I just want to puff the front up a little bit. See that? So it sticks out. And now we can just move the whole thing back into his little face. Okay, I think that looks good. So I'm going to take flatten tool. I like flattening this area here. So I'm going to flatten this. It also makes a very nice ridge where the nose is. I also want to make this a little bit of a ridge here. Let's try pinch. So essentially you would be pinching this line, and see how that can go all the way up and connect those eyes. So I think that looks good. Okay, so now let's add his little tongue. So we'll add a sphere. Let's hit solo. Let's shrink it. Let's smush it a little bit like this. Shrink it a little bit more. And let's hit mirror. So now I'm going to move them away from each other, and then I'm going to rotate them towards each other. Like this. I'm going to stretch it a little bit. And I'm going to validate. And I think we want to, let's just take the whole mirror and validate. So we'll turn solo off, and we'll just bring it down to where it needs to go, right in his little pie hole. So there is one mistake that I made. Looking at it from the side, the mouth should be up further. Mistakes happen. So as long as you're in symmetry, make sure you're on the head or the jaw. And I just want to move this up. Okay, so even something like this isn't too bad. You just don't want the profile to look too crazy. And it was looking crazy. And now you can adjust the other pieces. So remember, we put the teeth all together. Separate it. Let's just do split with lasso. You can hit X-ray, and we'll just, with the lasso, just grab these bottom teeth like that, and then they're split. So now we can go back to X-ray. You can take gizmo, and then you can just move it to where they should be. And you can take the inner part of the jaw, or the gums I should say, and then just take move, and let's kind of bring those back. So it's a little more visible. Let's take the teeth now and move them up. And let's grab that tongue and bring that up as well. Okay, so pretty easy fixes. There's always going to be something that's weird or messed up that you're going to have to fix. Let's have some fun and add a tube on the eyes. So we'll start with path. So we're using tube, path. We're going to keep snap on for now. So I'll tap down, drag, like that. You can adjust these. Then I'm just going to make all these little sections to kind of go along the top of the eye. We'll add another one there. Okay, and then we'll tap the little green sphere. So now we can adjust this. Let's tap radius twice so that we can adjust all of these little pieces. So we'll make these a little smaller, and we'll make these a little smaller as well. We'll add another one here. Okay, so we can do something like that. Maybe we'll make this a little smaller. Thinner, I should say. Let's turn snap off. And I like to push the end into the in between these two meshes so they disappear. This one looks like it already has, so that's good. You can leave them round like that, or you can hit profile. I always like the way this looks. And you can also hit twist to kind of twist it. So maybe something like that. Beautiful. All right, so let's go here and let's just see if we can take some of the size out. So we have post subdivision 1, linear subdivision 1, tube topology at 13. So let's hit mirror, so that'll go to the other side, and let's hit validate. Let's save. Okay, let's join the ears and remesh the head. So we'll take the ears, we'll go ahead and validate these, and the head. Make sure you save first, and let's voxel remesh. Whoops. Let's voxel remesh this around 250. Okay, and now we can go ahead and smooth the ears. I have symmetry on. Okay, can make sure that he's nice and smooth. Looks great. So sometimes if I notice these marks that won't go away with smoothing, like these things, sometimes they just won't go away. And then I'll use flatten. And I'm just going to flatten out that area. personally, I like that sort of flattened look, so I don't mind that. Been looking forward to this little trick with inflate. So we're going to take this little jaw piece. So this is the inner gum. I'm just using inflate, fairly small, doesn't have to be big. And I'm just going to trace over this and make this nice and even. But it's going to also get those little ridges, which I think looks really cool. Another thing I'm going to do is take the eyes and flatten them. So I'm going to flatten them like this, and then rotate them just so they're flatter on the face. So this might take some adjustments so that it still looks good with the eyebrows. So just maneuver them so they still look decent. Okay, that looks good. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the pupil. Just make it a little more flat, and then figure out a nice spot for it. And rotate it so it's nice and round. I think that works. Okay, so let's go ahead and paint this rascal. Okay, so we have some tubes. We can go ahead and validate anything over here that is in red. Let's just validate it. The inner ears, we can validate those. The eyes. I'm just going to name this eye whites. P1, we can leave because we might move this around. So let's go to this little sun tab and switch from matte cap back to lit PBR. So these are all of our layers. Let's tap this little cube and let's make it, so we'll do something like this. Okay, so let's turn off the environment. So let's go here to the little sun and turn off the environment. And then let's add a light. And let's put this light to 2. So just tap on this, or you can slide this. Let's put that to 2. So now let's go to post-process, and you can turn it on. Turn post-process on, reflections, global illumination, strength is there. This is something like this. And I think that's about it. Dithering is on. I think that's on by default. Okay, so we turned our environment off. We added one light. Let's just rename it key. So just tap the little pencil here and just rename it key. That's going to be our key light. The key light is the main light of your scene. It's the main thing lighting up whatever it is you have in your scene. So let's clone it and let's tap a line. We're just tapping a line so we can move the gizmo just straight left, right, up, down. It's less confusing than having it like this. So we'll just do a line and let's rotate it until the light is peeking right around the side of the head, giving him a nice edge. This is going to be our edge light. So something like that. We can change the colors. Maybe we'll change it to something a little, we'll do maybe a reddish color. Maybe you want to make that a little brighter. You can turn the intensity up. I'll make it a little more red there. All right, so we have those two. Let's add another light. This is another directional. I forgot to name that one the edge. So that's the edge light. This one we'll just name R2, just like R2D2. We'll move this one over here. It doesn't matter where the light is, but I just put it over here because I put the lights kind of like where they should be coming from. So I'm going to do just like that. So we see a little bit more light over here. I'll make it a little more intense. So let's go back up here. So if you want, you can add another light. And just for funsies, let's name this one D2. And let's change it from directional to spot. And then maybe we'll just put it up here. We can rotate it. Now this one, it does matter where the light is. So maybe we'll just have it kind of pointing down, coming from above. I'm pretty happy with that. So let's go back to the light. Let's turn on our environment. Now we'll probably have to turn this down a smidge. I think that looks great. And now you can color it whatever you want to color it. So I think I'm going to color mine black. Maybe black with like some purple in its jeans. This is how you make it glossy or less glossy. Maybe something like that. We'll make these maybe a little bit gold. You can turn the metalness up for a more goldish hue. take key and turn it up a little bit. And maybe the eyes, let's give him some yellow eyes, like Scott Farkas. We'll take some of the metallic out. We'll add a little gloss to them. These can be black. This is going to be black as well. So let's paint it black. We'll put the roughness up. We'll take all the metalness out. Give them a little pink nose. Okay, these can be white. Maybe they're a little bit off. Make them a little glossier. Let's go here and change to subsurface. Turn the depth down a little bit. The depth is like how easily you can see through it. We have to do the same with these. Now this was the last color we used, so we can use the same thing. We'll just paint it, but we can also go here and do subsurface, and I think, let's see if it's different. Oh yeah, it is different. So we have to go back to the bottom teeth and just change the depth to match a bit. Okay, tongue can be reddish. I'm going through this quickly because you can do your tongue, whatever you can do all these things, whatever the colors that you want. His inner gum type area, like that. And the only other thing I wanted to do was make this like a mask, so I might chop the back of it. And I also might do some details on the skin. So if you want to do like patterns or details, just use the layer. So add layer, call it details. And then you can just use your paint. And I'll just do a quick example. Like, let's say I want to paint something yellow, the little metalness. Okay, so you can paint like this. You can paint some details. And if you really want something sharp, like serious detail, go here, dynamic topology, enable it. Just remember, when you use this, it will increase the resolution. So let's say we did something like, and actually, you know what, I usually don't even color the inside because you can turn it off to color the inside. You just want the outer bit, if that makes sense. Also, turn post-process off. So you can do some shapes like that, kind of like that. You can do some details. And that's about it. To export, go to your little, let's save it. Go to your little folder, go down to render. You can render the screen. So I'm gonna do a transparent background, and you just hit export. And to do a turntable, you would just tap here. So just do turntable like this, and then you have a beautiful turntable. And that is it, folks. Keep drawing, keep sculpting. I'll see you all in the next video. Make sure to tag me on social media. I can't wait to see your crazy looking cats. Thank you guys so much for watching the video. Be sure to like and subscribe. And if you want to go more in depth, then definitely check out my Skillshare classes where I am a top teacher. I have about 50 classes, both Procreate and Nomad Sculpt. I also have a few classes on Udemy, so if you want to learn more, or you just like my style, you like the way I teach, you want to support me, those are some other places that you can do it. Thanks again. Keep drawing, keep sculpting. I'll see you all in the next video.